Hey everyone, welcome back to Dunk Talk. So here's the latest on the trade rumor front in the NBA. Right off the bat, with only 4 games separating the 10th and the 13th spots in the East, and an even smaller margin of 1.5 games between those 2 spots in the West, there are far more buyers than there are sellers as we approach the February 9th trade deadline. Although it doesn't seem like there will be a huge trade in the making, I think there will still be some surprises we probably aren't expecting. So let's get into some names that are circling around the NBA news. Now, first off, we got the Clippers and the Timberwolves that are interested in Mike Conley. The Clippers are currently 6th in the West. Even with all the talent they have and a roster full of wings, they are still doing everything they can to remain in contention this season. John Wall is sidelined with an abdominal strain for at least 2 weeks, and therefore they are currently looking at Mike Conley as a suitable replacement. In addition to Conley, the Clippers also want to reinforce their front court behind Ivica Zubac, who is playing a career-high 30 minutes a game. The only other true center on the Clippers is their two-way player Moses Brown. Moses Brown has had some positive moments, but it isn't enough if they want to make a run into the postseason. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but I do think that they should be looking at Jakob Poeltl and possibly Mo Bamba as their backup candidates. Now, next up, we got the Timberwolves. Since there's been some trade news around D'Angelo Russell recently, who will be an unrestricted free agent this summer, now there's rumors that the backup will actually be Mike Conley, and that's only if, of course, they end up trading Russell. This should at least maintain the quality of point guard for the remainder of the season. Another rumor has been centered around the Utah Jazz and John Collins. The Jazz have been most engaged in a deal for Collins, per The Athletic, but other teams who have reported interest are the Wizards, the Nets, and Indiana Pacers as well. I mean, Collins is a very versatile player who could really help out any one of these teams. Currently, Utah is sitting at the 8th seed in the West, but they have plummeted down the standings after a surprisingly positive start. There's also the fact that the Jazz already have Lauri Markkanen, who plays the same position as Collins and is playing like an all-star this season. So, honestly, do they really need him? Who knows? It's hard to say what exactly Utah will do this season. Many people would probably say that Utah should be sellers ahead of the trade deadline and not buyers, but I'm not sure if they're still making a run at the playoffs and just losing, or if they are purposely doing bad to enter the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. It's hard to say, but they have a lot of draft capital now, a solid young core who can clearly perform very well, and if you add Wembanyama to that mix, then you could easily have a title contending team. Alright, next up we got Fred VanVleet, and it looks like the Suns and the Magic are the potential suitors. So again, per The Athletic, they were reporting that the Phoenix Suns and the Orlando Magic are suitors for the Raptors guard if Toronto makes VanVleet available. So far, Phoenix has been in a free fall since Devin Booker went down with a growing strain, and that's in addition to the absence of Cam Johnson and the subpar production of Chris Paul this season. Because of this, the Suns currently sit at 12th in the West after being near the top of the conference prior to Booker's injury. So it's not surprising that Phoenix is looking to upgrade its backcourt due to Booker's absence. VanVleet would certainly provide a boost to Phoenix's roster, both with Booker out and when he comes back. However, it's unclear what the Suns would have to give up in order to acquire the all-star guard. Honestly, the Magic being interested in VanVleet is surprising to me, given their likeliness to end up in the lottery this summer. VanVleet would certainly, of course, upgrade their roster, but with such a young core of players, the need for him right now doesn't make a lot of sense. Now let's go ahead and touch base on the very popular trade rumor, which is surrounded around Bojan Bogdanovic, and he is drawing interest from the Lakers, the Bucks, and the Pelicans. So, just to let you guys kind of recap, when the Pistons landed Bogdanovic, there was a little bit of confusion around the league, given that Detroit's currently in a rebuilding phase, and their use for Bogdanovic wasn't really clear. It was also confusing when the team signed him to an extension during the season, as many people expected him to be a prime trade candidate at the deadline. Now, the Pistons keep saying that they'd rather keep Bogdanovic, but the lengthy list of teams that are interested in him may change the outcome. All the teams that have been listed as interested in Bogdanovic are the Lakers, the Bucks, Pelicans, the Cavaliers, and the Mavericks. As of now, the Pistons are reportedly still asking for at least one unprotected first-round pick and a viable player or players to match the salary in return for him. That's asking a lot for a 33-year-old who's not technically still in his prime, but then again, I don't really blame the Pistons because it's not necessarily a big market team, and any viable talent that they can get or that they currently have, they really have to make smart executive decisions for that player to make sure that they at least have some chance at moving up in the league. Who knows? Maybe their strategy is just surrounded on the idea of telling people publicly that we're going to keep Bogdanovic so that they keep his price point high and that they don't settle. But ultimately, as we get closer to the trade deadline, since they are in a rebuilding phase, they might soften up their asking price. But last on the list in terms of the rumor mill is going to be on D'Angelo Russell. And the team that's currently interested in him are the Miami Heat. Now, Russell will be an unrestricted free agent this summer, and it's not looking like the Timberwolves will extend him. If that's the case, then it makes sense why the Wolves are interested in Conley, and why Russell is probably going to be available for the trade too. The Heat are trying to upgrade their point guard position, but it's been reported that if Miami trades for Russell, then Minnesota would have to take Kyle Lowry in that swap. I doubt the Timberwolves would want to take on Lowry, so the Heat may have to incentivize the deal with either a young stud or a certain set of draft capital.